Okay, welcome to tonight's Baking with Brown Commons event. We are excited for you to join us. My name is Kristen Cothran, and I'm the Assistant Dean of and Second Year Experience and Community Development. I will be your host for tonight's event. There's just a few housekeeping items before we get started. If you've joined our webinars in the past, you know about these. The session will be recorded and posted online for any student who has missed it. There is a chat button at the bottom of the screen. Feel free to share your thoughts or ask any questions throughout the next hour or so. This event will last about 50 minutes to the next hour. And at this time, I'm going to ask folks to introduce themselves. So if we could have the Brown Commons faculty directors introduce themselves first.
Hey, I'm Mary Simonson. I'm a professor of film and media studies and women's studies, and then also one of the faculty directors of Brown Commons, like you just heard.
And I'm Jeff Berry. I'm a professor in physics and astronomy. I'm also director of first year seminar program, which means you may have gotten a letter from me yesterday. And I'm co-director of Brown Commons.
Awesome. Okay, and then we have two students who are joining us this evening for our program. So Sarah, would you like to go first and introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, I'm Sarah Harris. I'm from Westchester, New York, and I'm part of the class of 2023. And my intended majors are a double major in educational studies and psychology.
Fabulous. Okay, and Miranda.
My name is Miranda Hirsch. I'm from New York City. I'm also part of the class of 2023, and I'm not sure what I want to major in yet, but that's okay.
That's totally okay. That is why you came to Colgate, for a liberal arts education and explore all the different options available to you. So tonight we are going to be baking some cookies and then making them into cookie witches, chip witches type of thing. So I'm going to turn it over to Mary and Jeff. If you could talk a little bit about the cookie that you chose for this evening.
Well, before we get to the cookie, Jeff said we would talk about the chip witch.
Okay.
And so I assume if any of you have been to campus, you probably got a chip witch at the end of your tour, or maybe at the beginning of the tour if it was a bad day. So when you go into the admissions building for a tour at Colgate, if you haven't been, you get a chip witch, right? Which is an ice cream sandwich, but with chocolate chip cookies. And the ones they have at Colgate are made at a place called Byrne Dairy, which is an upstate New York dairy. And you can also buy them in town if you want. And there's quite a variety of possibilities of different flavors in town. But we thought it'd be really fun, since we were going to make cookies, to actually go with a Colgate themed cookie and see if we could top the Byrne Dairy chip witch with our own homemade chip witch. So for the cookie recipe, we went with one of Jeff's favorite recipes. Actually, the only way we're allowed to make cookies anymore at our house.
Yeah, because this will ruin you in terms of like branching out and trying to make other, especially chocolate chip cookies. It is a King Arthur recipe, and it's a chocolate chip oatmeal cookie. And I think what's really special about it, which makes it the best cookie you can possibly get, is the oatmeal adds a little bit of nuttiness to it. There's a good bit of salt for a cookie, so it's a little salty, and then there are tons of chocolate chips, and so many that I actually don't put all the chocolate chips that the recipe calls for. And we use Ghirardelli chocolate, which is actually, kicks it up a little bit of notch than just like the Nestle, and I think that makes a big difference too. So anyway, when they come out, they're always great. Oh, and there's a lot of vanilla. There's a whole tablespoon of vanilla in these cookies, which I think is quite a bit.
Okay. All right. So Sarah, would you mind sharing the recipe with folks just so that they know what we're about to bake this evening?
Yes. Here, I'm sharing my screen right now.
Yeah, and if for some reason you don't get the recipe written down or you don't take a screenshot, if you search for King Arthur chocolate chip oatmeal cookie, you can find it online too.
Here. So these are the ingredients. I'll quickly talk about the dietary substitutions before we pull the actual recipe up. But just so that everyone can enjoy baking with us, we made it so that you could also enjoy these cookies gluten-free or vegan. The instructions are right here, so I'll let you guys either take a screenshot of that or look at it while I verbalize it to you. Gluten-free, obviously, you could just use gluten-free flour. And then vegan is a little bit more complicated, but my dad's vegan, so you gotta just make the substitutions for them. So you could use margarine and double check that it's vegan instead of unsalted butter. And then you could use vegan chocolate chips or carob chips instead of semi-sweet chocolate chips. And then eggs, you could pick which direction you want to go. You could either use half a cup of applesauce or 2 ripe mashed bananas. I think I would go with the mashed bananas just because they add a little bit of flavor in. I really like banana bread, so it's pretty interesting. And then they make the cookies a little bit denser, so you could add half a teaspoon of baking powder to make them a bit fluffier. And that's what I'd go with for your dietary substitutes. And here are the steps.
So Sarah, do you want to go back and just share the actual ingredients too? Real quick?
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's
There
okay.
you go. These are all the ingredients.
Yeah, and that's in the right order.
Yes.
So do we want to start putting those things together?
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, so what I just did, and actually,
And Mary,
Mary, I want you to grab the camera there.
Yep.
This is,
So Sarah, if you want to stop sharing your screen and
Yes.
then actually put the ingredients together. Awesome, thank you.
so this is DIY Food Network stuff. So I just put 2 sticks of butter in our mixer here, and we got this when we got married. Like this stand mixer. These things, you cannot beat them. And when you're creaming this stuff, you put on this little attachment, which is called the paddle attachment. Right. So if you got one of these things in your parents' house and you've never actually used it, that's the way to use that. Next thing that goes in is the cup of brown sugar. I weighed this rather than packing it into a cup, but so I'm just gonna dump that in, and then it's a half a cup of white sugar, right? Yeah. All right. So that's all your sugar, and then you just cream that together with this fancy paddle attachment. And I don't have. All right. Whatever.
Okay.
So I'm gonna turn this on slowly.
Okay. Put that back down. Tell them how long you're cleaning for.
I'm gonna cream it until it turns into cream. Yes. Mary's like, tell them how long you're gonna do this for. I'm gonna do it until it hits the right consistency. And I'll show you.
Right? Is this good?
Yeah. So Miranda's
That's it.
Miranda is making it with an individual mixer, and Sarah is with a electric mixer. So we've got a variety of options to mix your cookies with.
We're muting because our mixer is really loud.
That's okay.
I did the same thing.
We had a discussion about that.
Is it green yet?
No, it takes a minute.
Oh, it takes a
As you can
minute.
see, who makes the cookies in this house? Or is it ready? No, so I'm gonna scrape the sides a little bit and then put it back in here and let it go for a little bit longer because this is not quite the texture that we're going.
Oh.
This is cooking with the astrophysicist.
How's the hand mixing?
Good.
So part of the reason we decided to do this, can you hear me over the mixer or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Part of the reason we decided to do this is because in the Commons we cook a lot too. And yeah, we make stuff all the time. Usually on Tuesday nights we make dinners. We all get together and we think it's really important for something to do. Number one, to change from dining hall food, and number two, you really learn how to cook. So if you don't know how to cook, it's a great way to come and check it out. And if you do know how to cook, you can come and teach other people how to cook because lots of your peers don't quite know yet. And it's also, well, actually, I won't say too much because Sarah's going to talk more about the dinners later. But yeah, so we figured cooking with Brown Commons or baking with Brown Commons was a Brown Commons thing to do. And maybe we can say a couple more things, but. Oh.
We're gonna check out the.
Checking out the
Can you
consistency.
see that out up there?
Yeah.
Close up.
Oh.
Hopefully nobody in IT is watching you do this with their camera. Anyway, we're close.
Okay.
So what we haven't said yet is what the Commons are. So maybe. Oh, are we ready?
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah. Okay, we're pretty good. We'll
Good
tell you
enough
about the Commons later.
This is good enough for TV. Right?
Or maybe we can tell now while you work on that.
What's that?
So the Commons system is a system that everybody at Colgate lives in for their first 2 years. When in July at some point, you'll get a special email that will tell you which Commons you're in. And it's based on, well, it's based on which FSEM you're assigned to. So it's done kind of randomly, but they all have their own personalities and, they own their own sort of activities. Most of the time you can go to any commons activities, even if you're not in that commons. Yeah, so we're Brown Commons. Sarah is in Brown Commons. Miranda's in Chicone Commons. But yeah, you stay affiliated with it you stay living in your commons for a couple of years, but you're affiliated with it throughout the entire time you're at Colgate. Okay, back to the
Well, no, I would add one thing to that. So when we were getting ready to start this, we were thinking about what are the types of things that we would do to build community. And one of the things, there are a couple of things that really came to mind. One was music, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But the other was food, and how food is something that brings people together and you can build community around, right? And so one of the reasons that it's Brown Commons making cookies is because we really value getting together and making food and using that as a way to just bring people together. It's not necessarily all about the food. It's really partly about just doing things together in community. You mean it?
Yeah, you want to add
so next thing you do is you put in eggs.
Hang on.
So our fancy camera work here. All right, so it's one full egg and then an egg yolk. So I'm gonna put one egg in here.
Jeff's an expert egg cracker.
I'm really not, right? And then
better than me.
And then just the yolk. So I'm gonna put the white in this other bowl and save the yolk, hopefully.
So Miranda and Sarah have also separated out their yolks ahead of time, and Jeff is showing you in person live right now how to separate the yolk.
Oh my gosh.
This is not Memorex, which no one.
They don't know what that means.
We're the only ones that get that reference, right?
That's an old person joke.
Yeah. All right, and there you go. 2 yolks and 1 white.
There you go.
And this goes in here with some vanilla.
Oh.
Okay, so Sarah and Miranda have added their eggs in. Yes, you
Got their eggs in.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna take my eggs, dump my eggs in, and then this is a tablespoon of vanilla.
Okay.
Got it.
And if you put a little extra vanilla, I think it's perfectly all right.
I did that.
Yeah. Oh, and one thing that I do is that the recipe calls for light brown sugar, and I'll typically use dark brown sugar, but I've used light brown. It doesn't really make a huge difference, but I kind of like the little extra flavor you get from the darker sugar.
Okay.
Mix it up.
All right. Everyone's mixing. So while we're mixing, Sarah, do you want to say what FSM you had in the fall?
Yes. So I was placed into FSEM, I think it was 119. That was core California. So the reason why it's core is because it also satisfied one of my core curriculum requirements, which was communities and identities. I learned a lot about California and the history of it. And it also made me interested in Native American studies because we learned about this vast history of Native Americans in California. And now I'm taking a Native American writers class, and that's something that I had never been exposed to before Colgate. So my random placement in this FSEM that I ranked high up among a bunch of other ones ended up giving me a new passion, which was very exciting.
Awesome. Thanks.
Of course.
Okay. Jeff and Mary, do you want to continue to explain what you're doing there?
We're still mixing.
Okay. All right. Miranda, do you want to share your FSEM and which one you did in the fall?
Yeah, so I was put in an FSEM called Reading People, and it also fulfilled one of my cores. It fulfilled the Scientific Perspective core. And my professor was Professor Keating. She's the head of the psychology department. So that was also really cool to be in a freshman only class and have a director of a department be the professor, which was, I think, super special. And I know a lot of other students at bigger schools don't get opportunities like that. And when I came to Colgate, I was super interested in psychology. So I was excited to have that. And it also led me to take another psychology class second semester of last year. So like Sarah, it furthered my interest in a class and led me to take more second semester.
That's great.
All right, so our batter looks good.
Okay.
Yeah, and we can look at it. Oh. All I have trouble with the
Yeah,
angles
that's
here.
pretty good.
Looks good.
I might go a little bit longer, but
Yeah.
we're good for that for now.
All right. So, Sarah, are you gonna do the dry ingredients?
Yes. Okay. I will do the dry ingredients. I pre-measured them, so I don't. Okay. I think it's 2 cups of all-purpose flour, or if you're doing gluten-free, you could do that too. So you could just dump that in. There you go. And I think you put in all the dry ingredients at once, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Okay. Then we have baking powder and baking soda. They look a lot alike. I believe this one is baking powder. And we have, I think, 1 teaspoon of both of them. Yes, okay, cool. So you can just put that in, both of them. And then if you really want to make these like Professor Barry's favorite, you could get your oats. I have mine here, but I was going to decide on air if I'm putting the oats in actually, because I've never been an oatmeal cookie girl. And I was just curious if you guys wanted to try it out, if I do regular cookies, if you guys were okay with that maybe.
Well, these are by no means an oatmeal cookie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe I'll just put some in. We'll go for it.
If you want to, you could also do like a half a cup rather than.
Yeah, I'll do half a cup. You guys could do a little more. You could be a little more generous.
Just cut it in half. What the recipe says. If you don't really like the oatmeal.
Yeah, but Colgate's all about trying new things, and so today I'm trying oatmeal.
You really don't notice the oatmeal in them once it's in there.
Yeah, my parents will be happy. They wanted this in here. Not my dad because he's not eating it.
Miranda, are you putting oatmeal in, or are you put the oatmeal in? Okay. All right. So Sarah, you got to do it. You got to try. So
I did. It's in here. Sadly, okay. No. Just
I
kidding.
also do like oatmeal cookies though, so it's less of a big deal for me. But
okay.
Then you just mix that all up. I'm now using my hand mixer, like my hand, because that's what you should do at this point. Because if you use something big, it will like poof, and that's not fun.
So you're doing a manual mixer.
Manual mixer.
Electronic. Yep.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Miranda was like, "This is going to be our workout for the day," and I didn't believe her, but it really is.
Yeah.
This is why Colgate's the most fit campus. We whisk up.
And the hill.
And the hill, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when we do the pancakes, we'll often get heavy cream and just whip it ourselves too. So that's a workout.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
when do you make these pancakes? Because we need to know so we can stop by.
So it's the last Sunday, like before finals start. The night before finals, every semester, pancakes and pooches. So homemade buttermilk pancakes, usually sausage and some vegetarian sausage, and then toppings galore, like berries and bananas, Nutella, real maple syrup, because we're in maple syrup country. What else? Nuts. Yeah, whatever.
Whipped cream.
Whipped cream, hand whipped cream. Yeah.
And then whose pooches? What are the pooches?
Whoever we can round up.
Okay.
Whoever happens by.
Whatever pancake loving poochers there are out there.
Love it. I love it. Okay.
You're welcome.
No.
Something really fun about the Commons system is that, like we said earlier, you could go to any Commons event, but most Commons events have a puppy involved thing. So I know that I think Miranda went to Beagles and Bagels, right?
Yeah, so I'm in Tacony Commons, and I think it may have been also like around the finals or midterms time where someone had beagles and they brought them, and they also got bagels and flour and salt. So we had a bagels and beagles stress relief hour.
So flour and salt. I don't know if I'm back in the shot here. This is, I don't know if you can read my hat.
Yes.
Flour. That's a flour and salt hat. Flour and salt is a little like bakery / bagelry. I don't really know if bagel is an actual word, but bagel shop in town, and they do a lot with the university. Actually, the owners are Colgate alums too.
And for New York, New Jersey people out there, they're like real New York, New Jersey bagels.
They're really good. We could attest to it.
Yeah, Sarah and I are both from New York, so we can definitely say they're great.
Yes, and if anyone remembers the very first video that came out the first week of June, Willa King did a tour of Hamilton, and she had mentioned about flour and salt bagels, and she said that they were also the best bagels that she's ever eaten. And she's from New York as well. So, so I think 3 students have just attested to the fact that they are the best bagels in town and potentially in the state. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
That's saying something because New York City's in the state.
yeah.
Maybe if we do another cooking event, we'll do bagels, and then we could taste test bagels from our home versus flour and salt.
We could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff's a bagel maker. Although now flour and salt here, he doesn't.
Not as good as
Pretty.
Britty down at Flour and Salt. All right, so have we combined these things yet?
Oh yeah.
Yes, we have.
Oh,
We're behind.
well, how did that happen?
You were behind.
Very fast.
Very fast.
Are you ready to put the chocolate chips in yet?
Oh yeah, I did not pre-measure my chocolate chips because unlike oatmeal, I love chocolate chips. So I'm just gonna go crazy with
And I
them.
went for the whole 3 cups. I was very excited to add the amount of chocolate.
Nice.
Okay.
So dump them in. And it really is like way more than you think is appropriate for your bowl. Just keep dumping.
Yeah.
Keep mixing. That's the thing. Once you get them all in there,
Oh yeah, you've got to mix them up. The other thing we can say about the residential commons, while everybody else stirs, oh, Jeff's really getting like his shoulders into it. Keep stirring. Yeah, is that so each commons has 2 faculty directors, and then each commons has a person, an assistant director who is associated with residential life. And they help us with all of the kind of like logistic things, like making sure everybody has their keys and that they're in the right room. And they also help oversee our student residential life staff, who are called CLs. At a lot of schools they're called RAs and things like that, but they're upper class students who, yeah, you can.
are we ready?
Everybody did it?
Okay, sorry.
Yep. We're dumping the
This
chips.
is the story of my life. I'm always
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's a student staff of upper class students who usually, it depends on the building, but like a lot of the time there'll be 1 person per floor. And they're there as a resource for you to make sure that you're safe and, you know, healthy and that you're meeting people and, you know, to help you if you've got any questions and stuff like that. And then there's also a whole team of faculty and staff affiliates that each commons has. And they are all of the FSEM, first year seminar faculty who are associated with that commons. And then there's also sort of other people that faculty directors have invited. We have somebody from the counseling center in most of the commons who's affiliated, other staff members from around the commons, somebody from athletics in most commons. And then each commons also has an administrative dean associated with it, who is the administrative dean for most people in that commons too. So Sarah, you have Dean Jones as your administrator.
I do, and she is incredible. I've actually met with her a couple times. I'd say that your administrative deans are a great resource on Colgate's campus. I was really sick for a semester and I got in contact with mine and we worked everything out because I couldn't really go to class with a 102 fever, especially you can't go to class next year with a 102 fever. Yeah, so I definitely get to know your administrative dean. They're really helpful.
Yeah. And because of the commons, you know, they'll have office hours in some of our buildings sometimes. They'll come to events that we have. So it's sort of easier. Like you don't necessarily need to go seek them out in their office right away. You can just sort of meet them casually and then you know who they are and where to go when it comes time for it.
Yeah.
All right. So are we ready to
How are we doing?
put the cookies?
It looks pretty good.
Yeah,
I think it's
great.
good.
Yeah, it looks really good.
All right.
So,
So did we tell people to preheat their oven to 320?
Oh, we told each other, but not the webinar viewers.
That's unfortunate. So those of you who are following along, oh well.
preheat your oven now.
Preheat your oven.
It's only to 325, so it'll be a little fast.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. So I have this is a 1/4 cup measuring cup. This makes a pretty good size cookie.
I was gonna use an ice cream scoop. I remember seeing that on cooking shows.
Nice.
And I'm using a spoon, so we have 3 different levels again. Which is great.
And then your pan, I have a piece of parchment paper that I put on my pan. What did you all do?
I did the same.
Yeah?
Me too.
All
Yeah,
right.
definitely make sure you're using something that's nonstick. That's
Yeah.
like the first rule of baking, other than preheat your oven. So
Yeah.
So we forgot to share the first rule, but we definitely shared the second rule about the.
exactly.
So, okay.
Well, we forgot the first rule of Brown Commons cooking, because we've got a kitchen in our dorm when everybody comes in, is wash your hands.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm, mhm,
Especially now.
Oh, I thought
We
mhm,
did that before we started.
mhm.
I thought it was just wing it.
No, well,
When you
that's
find that you don't have something that you need,
wing it.
you roll with it. But
That too.
yeah.
Yeah, I actually did that at a Brown Commons baking event. We were making tiramisu, and I was really excited because I've never made tiramisu before. And people were just standing around, so I just sort of because that's what you do, you chat. But I was really eager to make this tiramisu, so I took it upon myself and I started adding stuff together. And little did I know that the tiramisu wasn't ready to be put together. So I messed up a full tiramisu, but it still tasted really good, and everyone was really nice about it. So it was a great experience. You
Nice.
just gotta wing it.
Yeah. Winging it.
Yeah, we don't get mad if you mess up. It's okay.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I also, the first time that I ever went, there's a picture in the slideshow, me and my friend Amanda, we added way too much rice in the rice bowl, I guess, in the mixing bowl, and it started overflowing, and Professor Barry handled it like a pro.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really I was like, this is not a good first impression. But clearly it worked out fine.
Yeah.
Yes. Because you're baking with Professor Barry almost a year later, so it definitely worked out fine then.
Yes, for sure.
Still hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be there next year, so you guys will get ready to see a lot more mess ups.
Yes.
Both of you.
Okay.
You muted?
I don't think so.
Nope, you're good.
Yeah, Miranda and Sarah, where are you going to live next year?
We haven't done it yet.
Right, I forgot.
Well, I'll tell you where I hope to live in case you guys know any of the people assigning that. I hope to be living in Andrews, which for our incoming first years is a suite style living, which is really awesome. You have a common room and then typically 2 doubles. However, I'm going for the one room in the dorm that is a double and a common room. So it's like the suite, but without another side. And if I can't get that, I'm hoping to live in our new dorm for our commons, which is Burke.
Mm-hmm.
It's really nice.
And then
I'm in Chicony, so my options are Drake and Curtis. So me and my roommate are trying to do Drake, but we also might try to do 113 Broad Street, which is an option for sophomores to live. That's not really tied to one of the commons, but you still live with people within your commons. So the person who I'm rooming with is also in Chicony Commons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, next year I think we're gonna hopefully kind of divide 113 into 4 zones. So most of the people right around you will be in your commons too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah, and
Yeah,
so
that's
that's
awesome.
the other thing to know that's a little confusing about our commons. Each commons has multiple buildings and different numbers of buildings and different layouts of buildings. And so, for example, Brown Commons, we have 6 buildings right now. Chicony has 3, if you count the Broad Street house down the hill. Oh, have you put your cookies in the oven?
I was waiting for you guys, but I'm ready.
Oh, good. All right,
Okay.
let's do it.
All right. So cookies are going in the oven. And how long should we bake said cookies?
12 minutes
Well,
to start.
Okay.
Then you're gonna have to watch them carefully.
Okay.
Yeah. Depends on how blonde or brown you want your cookie. We've had a little internal debate over that at our house. I vote for blonder.
I go for darker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So does blonder mean less time?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's cooking. Yep.
Okay.
All right. So what else? Yeah.
Well, I know what I wanted to talk about was music.
Uh,
One of the things that we do in Brown Commons is we have a monthly what we call coffee house music show, and we invite touring musicians to come in and play. And they play down in 110 Broad Street, which is our social house. And we've somewhat converted a big room there into a little kind of coffee house style venue. The Fojo guys, which is a coffee roaster that's kind of new to town. They've been in town for about a year. We get coffee from them, and we get sweet treats from Flour and Salt, and just make an evening of it. And we do a pretty good job of getting pretty talented musicians there. I mean, they're typically in the Americana spectrum of genres, which includes a little R&B to almost bluegrassy type stuff. So, and we've even had a hip hop artist as part of the lineup. So we've had 15 of those now. It's kind of hard to believe how many of those shows we've put on. Actually, no, we've had 17. We had to cancel the last one because of the virus, but that would have been our 18th show. So we'll continue to do that at least once we get back to a situation where we can have, 50 people in a fairly small room.
Yeah, Miranda and Sarah, do you want to talk about your favorite commons things?
Yeah, well, my favorite commons, we all know that, Brown Commons. But my favorite event within the commons should be pretty obvious. It's cooking with Brown Commons, just because when I first got to campus, I'm pretty picky, and I wanted to really expand my eating palette, and eating a home cooked meal was a great way to do that. And then I also was looking to make some more friends. Oh, look who we have here.
Wow, we have some special guests joining us right now. So Sarah, they just joined us. So Sarah, we need to hear the finish of your story, but let's have our guests introduce themselves first, and then we'll go back to your story. Sounds good?
Sounds awesome.
Okay, so who do we have joining us right now?
Hi, everyone. I'm Paul McLaughlin, Vice President and Dean of the college.
Hello.
I am Jason Shoemaker. I'm the Director of Student Accounts, and I'm married to Paul, so we're not breaking social distancing rules.
That's wonderful. And Jason, why are you joining us this evening as well, besides being Paul's husband?
I am an affiliate of Brown Commons, and I should have put on one of my Brown Commons t-shirts. So sorry. I get to do super fun things like compete in badminton tournaments and broom ball, and then sample delicious chipwiches.
Right.
Like a win-win-win for me.
And get free t-shirts.
And actually, it is really a nice opportunity to get to know students in a much different capacity than normal. So I look forward to, outside of the virtual zone, getting to know some folks.
Awesome. And Dean McLaughlin, it looks like you took advice from my fashion closet, and it looks like you're wearing the exact same shirt as me. So
I didn't realize. I thought it was your advice I took and you didn't take mine?
No, you definitely took my advice, because I have a way better portfolio of clothing in my closet than you. I'm just kidding. You have a way better portfolio than me. So. Awesome. Well, I'm so glad that you could join us. Sarah was just telling us about her favorite Commons event. So I'm going to let Sarah finish telling us that. And then Jason, if you wouldn't mind sharing actually your favorite Brown Commons event. So Sarah, do you want to let us know?
Yeah, of course. So I left off talking about the cooking events. And so, sorry, I had a little distraction over there. So my favorite thing is the cooking. I really liked when we made the tiramisu, because that was fun when I messed up and everyone was okay with it. But what I also loved about the cooking is that you're doing it together, and also each meal is sponsored by a CL, which is, like we mentioned, sort of like an RA. And that was really cool, because each CL sort of brought their own home to Colgate, and we got to try all different sorts of things. So I got to try udon noodles, and I had never tried those before, and that was with my CL. So that was really special to me, and that really helped make the bond. And then another thing that I really enjoyed was the cleanup. I know that's crazy, but we all clean up together, which I thought was really nice. Cleaning up, it's so weird. You don't really do it at college. Like, obviously you put your stuff away, but you don't have to wash things. And I really enjoyed it, like on a Tuesday night, just washing my dishes. It was very nice. It felt like I was home again. So it felt like home, which is nice, as I said.
Awesome. So Jason, do you want to share? And then I'm going to have Miranda share one of her favorite Commons events.
Sure. For me, one of the most exciting events was a broom ball tournament on the ice at the Class of 65 arena. I was vaguely familiar with broom ball, but you do not wear ice skates. You wear sneakers, and you have a great big rubber ball. It's much like hockey and soccer sort of mixed together. And we had, I'm pretty sure, 6 super competitive Commons teams. One, Jeff Berry, was one of my teammates, and I watched him take like 2 incredibly hard falls on the ice. I was a sweaty mess, and it was tons of fun. And the students who we competed with and against are like locked in my memory, and it's so fun to see them on campus now. So I'd highly recommend taking advantage of like crazy opportunities like getting on the ice and running around.
Awesome.
And they're half our age too.
Right.
And they showed no mercy, I bet.
But I think we ended up beating them.
We won.
Oh, so they
We
showed
won.
mercy. Sorry, I take it back. I'm just kidding.
Now the broom ball and all of the intramural stuff will be part of a Commons Cup, which Kristen, I don't know if you want to say anything about that.
Yeah, so in the fall semester, we're going to kick off the Commons with a Commons Cup challenge, and each Commons will have opportunities to engage with different events that we're doing, and you'll actually start to accrue points for your Commons. So the more events that students attend respectively within their Commons, the more points you accrue. And we're going to put the Commons Cup events under different categories. So you don't need to be a person who just attends rec service type of events. You could attend academic, intellectual events, arts and culture type of events. So we're going to have a variety of events that are available to students that you can attend to support your Commons, and it's the events that your Commons are actually doing, but you're accruing points for a Commons Cup at the very end. And we haven't decided yet what the prize might be. So we're going to keep a little bit more suspense and then reveal, I think, as the semester progresses. So, and then Miranda, do you want to share one of your Commons, your favorite Commons events?
Yeah. So each Commons is named after someone. So Ciccone Commons is named after Diane Ciccone, and every year they do a birthday party for her. So like I said before, the dorms associated with Ciccone are Drake and Curtis, and there's this little grassy area in between them. And I remember, I think there was like a bouncy house and tons of food brought in from all of the different places in town. And it was just like Sarah said, food really brings people together. And it was just I think it was a really nice afternoon too. It was, I think, early-ish in the year, so not a lot of snow on the ground yet. And everyone was just having a great time. My roommate was actually on the Ciccone board, and she was really into it and got to plan the whole event. So that's also something that students can take part in, and then you really get to plan out all the fun events and come up with new ones too.
That's great. So the only person that we haven't heard from yet about their favorite event is Dee McLaughlin. So Dee McLaughlin, what is your favorite Commons event? You can't necessarily say your favorite Commons because that's just, you can't compete with, they're all fabulous. They're all just fabulous, even though you're here right now with Brown Commons. But what would be your favorite Commons event that you could speak about?
I really do have to say that probably one of my favorite series of events is the Brown Commons Coffee House. It is a really great, sort of for me, a nice opportunity to both work and play. I love music. I love hearing new music. Jeff and Mary have a great way of introducing and finding talent and bringing them here. And it's also a great opportunity to see other faculty and staff and to interact with students in a really casual way. So it's like the perfect Commons event, because it's, I sort of feel like I'm not working at all. And it feels like that sort of allows me to be with students in a way that is great. In fact, I'm so psyched to see Miranda and Sarah here tonight. And Sarah, it's so nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
It was about 10 months ago when we met.
I know. I was actually, when you mentioned casual relationships between students and faculty, I wanted to bring up what our casual relationship was. So Dean McLaughlin had a great speech, which hopefully you guys will hear when we all gather together back at Colgate. It's just an introduction to Colgate. It's very fun. If it's your birthday, maybe you get cake. Don't want to spoil it, but it's awesome. It wasn't my birthday, but the cake was still good. Okay. I got a little. And, and so he made this great speech, and it reminded me of this incredible podcast that I heard. So right after, I think it might have been Convocation, I ran up to him and I was like, you need to listen to this podcast. And then we went back and forth a bit with some podcasts, and that's been one of my favorite memories so far with faculty. It just shows the total spirit of Colgate, which is great.
And those, Sarah, those podcasts remain like right here in my notes section, all the way
No
back
way.
from that. Sarah Harris, 23, recommended a podcast on the hidden brain titled Me,
Yep.
Myself, and IKEA. Right here
Yep.
it is.
That is incredible. That's me. So now it's us, all of us, and IKEA. I tried. That's
Okay, where are
awesome.
we at with the cookies in the oven right now? Are they almost ready to come out?
I have less than a minute on my timer.
Okay.
Well, maybe while we wait for them to come out, we can.
Through the magic of TV.
We already
Yes.
have them out. Because we figured you couldn't make a chipwich with a hot cookie, right? Like
Yes.
you can't even cookie. And actually what I found when I was experimenting is you want to put your cookies in the freezer and freeze them a little before you chipwich them because it makes it easier to get the ice cream.
That is such a good fact, Mary. I did not know this. Good to know.
I know. So, I didn't put my ice cream in that. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Number one, chipwiches are usually made with vanilla ice cream.
Ooh, bad camera work there. Hang on.
I know, that's hard to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does it matter what kind of ice cream you use? I feel like it should, but maybe it depends on your personal taste.
I think it does because I'm going to make one vanilla and one chocolate. Oh, shoot.
Okay. So we've got cookies coming out of the oven, and Mary and Jeff already prepared cookies for us to make some chipwiches. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But somebody has been in Jerry's ice cream. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, hi.
Amanda does.
Miranda had
Yeah.
All right.
But we have a bit of an issue. It's
I have
time
Haagen
to
Dazs.
make
Mine aren't ready yet either. Don't
Oh,
worry.
then keep it
the.
going.
Yeah, keep going.
Gotta
Keep
keep
going.
them in.
Alright.
Back in.
all morphed together a little bit.
Oh, well, that's
That
whatever.
happened to me too.
It'll be fine.
That's
I
fine.
just
It doesn't actually matter, Miranda. Cookies are still delicious no matter how big or pushed together they are.
I
So,
think
Hold it
it's
still.
too big. I
There
think
we
the
go.
rest should go back in.
Oh, that is beautiful.
That's a homemade chipwich right there.
Yeah.
And
pretty good.
we're using burned dairy ice cream.
Oh,
I want to say, I bet these cookies are slightly better than the cookie you get on the
Oh, yeah.
traditional chipwich.
That's a
Don't tell
bold
anybody.
claim.
Yes, I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it.
I don't know. Okay, so here's the chocolate ice cream,
Mm.
sucker.
Mary,
little-
you're speaking my language with chocolate ice cream.
I almost made you all one chocolate and one vanilla, and then I didn't. I should have. Next time.
Those two,
Listen.
like a swirl.
I'm not that picky when it comes to sweet, so I'll
Yeah.
go with vanilla. I can make do.
All right, there's chocolate version.
Chocolate version.
okay.
We haven't talked about your shirt, actually. Did we talk about the
Oh
otter?
no. So
No.
put my face. Oh well, okay. Each comment has a mascot that is an indigenous animal to upstate New York, central New York, and Brown Commons is the otter. Miranda, what's Chiconi's?
Or the owl.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we've got a bear. Hancock
For
is
Hancock is
bear,
the bear.
And Fox for Dark Cold Grove.
Fox for Dark Cold Grove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we haven't said anything about Hancock or Dark Cold Grove, but they're also cool comments. So you won't be disappointed if you end up in them either.
Yes. They're all fabulous.
They do like, I'm trying to think, Hancock does a speakeasy series where they invite professors in to sort of like talk about a topic from two different perspectives, and then they break up and have conversations over food.
Mm-hmm.
And Dark Cold Grove, one of their signature programs is Gate Skate, and they rent roller skates, and they turn the old gym into a roller skating rink, which is super fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like the disco.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then, oh yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
all these commons also have smaller events, like not signature ones. So I know that Dark Cold Grove did a Bachelor Monday. So for a lot of us at Colgate, that was very fun to tune into. And then Brown Commons with our CLs, we overtook it for East, which is one of our dorms. And we ended up ordering in a bunch of pizza and wings. And for the last night of The Bachelor, we all watched it together, and it was like the whole East dorm. So it had everyone from people like me actually wanting to watch to people just wanting pizza, the varsity athletes wanting to tune into the show. So it was a great community.
Who knew that The Bachelor would bring so many people together in so
Yeah.
many ways?
It's
So,
actually funny.
okay, good to know.
Yeah, I'll see you guys next year, hopefully.
Yes,
at the
if
Bachelor
Bachelor
viewing.
is not on
All
your
6
TV
of
list,
you.
yeah, well, I will now include it on my TV list to watch.
They
Yeah.
just announced who the Bachelor is. That's exciting stuff.
Sarah and Miranda, where are you living next year?
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
Oh, okay, that's right. You've got the housing process coming right up.
Yeah.
All that matters is that it's at Colgate.
Yes.
Is that right? Oh my gosh, what a difference a pandemic will make.
Literally. It's like put me in
There's a
the
tent.
closet.
A tent on the field somewhere.
I will happily live in the cross-country trails. They're actually very beautiful. So
We have been
set me
riding,
up.
we've been walking, running, and biking on the cross-country trails this summer, and they are phenomenal. Another really great little hidden gem at Colgate.
Yes.
I don't think a lot of people find out about those until pretty late in their career. Colgate used to have an old ski hill, which you probably know that from the tour, which truly was a functioning ski hill and had a lift on and everything. For obvious safety reasons, that doesn't exist anymore. But on top of that is approximately, I don't know. Actually, Jeff, you may know. Do you know how many acres are up there? Like 300? Does that sound right?
That sounds about right. If not, maybe a little more, right?
Yeah, so there's all kinds of acres up there with awesome, well-marked trails, including one called the Darwin's Thinking Path, which is like not taxing and allows you to just reflect on anything that's on your mind. And it's a great little escape. Walkable from the campus, just walk past Brown Commons and Dark Colgrove Commons and Hancock Commons, up the path towards Chapel House, past the cemetery on your left, and then you'll see a great big awesome map of the cross-country trails right there.
Yeah, I didn't figure out about it until pretty late in my freshman year. It was actually the last day of formal school, and we were all told that we were going home. And me and one of my really good friends, we were like, well, we haven't experienced enough of this place. So we took the whole afternoon after classes and we just walked around the whole campus, and it was awesome. It's probably one of my favorite memories.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice.
Are your cookies out of your ovens yet?
I just checked. I think I really messed up the sizing.
I think I did too.
It's going to be a disaster. It'll still taste good, but it's one big sheet.
It's okay, Miranda.
Here we go.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, mine do not-
Wow.
Take them out, put them on.
My issue, I did 4x4 was my problem.
I did
Oh,
3x4 and it still was not good.
yeah. Well, now you know for next time.
Yeah.
Ah, those cookies look so good.
Yeah.
Well, so I wonder if anybody out there in the webland has questions or things you want to know or that we haven't talked about, feel free to stick them in the chat and we can try to
Yeah.
answer.
Definitely do that.
But also, do we want a taste test now?
Sure.
Yeah,
Who's taste testing?
you are.
Just us? Just the two of us?
You. Well, and we can.
Do we think these are done?
Oh, they look good.
That
Yeah.
looks really
Yeah.
good.
I'll show you guys mine so that
I'm
I could be complimented as well.
Oh, wait, here, you have to come a little closer to the camera.
Oh, I did 4x3 as well. I was wrong.
Yeah.
These are
They
them.
look great.
Thank you.
a melted ice cream sandwich. I could still try to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
Miranda.
do that too then.
You
Just
can
gotta
do an
eat
open
that.
face sandwich.
There is a question in the chat box.
Oh.
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh, what are the sweets like? How many people? This is there's all different sizes, but Sarah or Miranda, you know them better than we do.
Yeah, so I think it really depends on where you're living. So like I said with Andrews, it's typical to have a suite, which is a double, common room double. However, something really cool about, I believe it's Hancock Commons, is that they have like complete suite style living. So you'll have 2 doubles, probably 1 single, and then a bathroom shared between them rather than having a floor bathroom, which I know some people really enjoyed. And then Miranda, you also had something different in Drake, right? Well, not you specifically, but on your floor.
In Drake, there's a ton of different options. So I was in a double, but like right down the hall, there were a couple suites and also a couple singles. So like it's not like suites are specific to Student Commons. There's kind of a variety in all of them, I feel like, for the most part.
It's a
something-
It's a great commercial for tomorrow's webinar. Kristen, do you want to tell them about that?
Yeah, you were just going to steal my thunder, but I'm glad that you didn't. Tomorrow in your weekly email on Monday, you should have received information about obviously tonight's event, and tomorrow we have a housing webinar. We're going over how roommates are selected, how to fill out the housing preference form, residential living at Colgate. So that is happening tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Technically it's Eastern Daylight Savings Time. That's what EDT is. And so if you can't make it to that webinar, it will be recorded and we'll share it the following week. But that is happening tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
So mine's a disaster.
Oh, well.
But it's probably going to taste very good. But I think this is a fork situation. I need to get a fork.
Okay, it's a Chicone Commons cookie, chip wish. That's it's okay.
So I just saw a question about feeling cramped in a double. I was in a double this year, and it was the best experience of my life. You'll probably hear if you've been on my tour, you've heard me talk about it nonstop, and even if you haven't, you're hearing it now. My roommate is one of my best friends, even though like we're not in the same group. And that was the best experience because it's random, and that was really exciting. We communicated really well, which is the most important thing to do with your roommate, I think. And it made the room feel huge. I also got very lucky. I had a corner room, so that means I had 2 windows. So maybe that was a little extra plus. We had more light coming in. But my room didn't feel cramped. Miranda might be able to speak a bit more to that, as I know she had a much smaller room than I did.
My room was a lot smaller than the average double, but it was still very fine. My roommate and I also were both super neat, so that also made the room feel a little bigger. But I don't think there was any rooms that felt like absurdly small. I think they were all pretty roomy. Compared also like to what I've heard at other schools. I think Colgate, the rooms in general are much bigger.
And we don't have triples for next year slated in terms of the housing selection process. So I think that there have been years, in fact, it was the year before Sarah and Miranda when we did have a larger class, and we had 23 triples that year. I'm guessing that those folks felt a little bit more crammed than any of our doubles do, but there's none of those plans for next year. The other question's from Blake, it looks like. If we return in person in the fall, what is the safety and sanitation plan regarding COVID in the dorms? Well, if we do announce that, and the hope is that the university will announce a plan by the end of next week, you will be sure to hear all of those details if we are returning in person. That's essential. Any sort of plan is not only about sort of sanitation, but of course about testing and tracing, isolation spaces, lots of considerations. In fact, that's probably what most folks, if you think about what's happening in Hamilton right now, I can safely say that pretty much every faculty and staff member is thinking and working for multiple scenarios in the fall, all of which would ensure safety. So more to come on that, Blake. Probably learn way more than you ever wanted if we end up in that space. And one particular piece that I think is important to think about is that it also is incumbent on students in that scenario to actually help in that regard. It can't work simply from a university perspective. Students will need to take precautions around safety and sanitation and mask and physical distancing and wiping things down. And so it really will be a different experience probably than most people, and surely different than Miranda and Sarah's first year here. But you can tell from their excitement about being back here that it would be well worth it.
Yes.
We could do that.
For sure.
Great question, though.
Should we try them?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
So what Kristen
It's
and
super
Colin and
melted.
Jason have are side by side, right? They've got one burned dairy,
Yes.
traditional order, and then one homemade one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike can't even call mine a chipwich. I mean, this is embarrassing.
It still looks good.
Really good.
All good.
Unbelievable.
We're
Because
good.
I just tried Mary and Jeff's cookie first. Holy moly, that was delicious.
Really good.
Okay, so now I'm going to try the burned dairy one.
And it's equally good deconstructed.
Yes.
The chocolate chips in Jeff and Mary's are more sort of chocolatey.
They look enormous, and that's how I like my chocolate chips.
Yeah. There's also a bit more crunch to your chip than the other one. So I might give yours an extra slide above the burned dairy one. So.
Mm-hmm.
The crunch does make it a little messy though.
Mm-hmm.
That's all right.
No.
Okay.
There's one more question. About Colgate planning to allow students. So yeah. So Paul, do you want to take that one too, or do you want to?
Sure. The only reason I think they're asking me to take it, not because I'm like, I know it all, but because I was the co-chair, or am the co-chair of the task force on reopening the campus with Professor Jeff Holm, who is an associate professor in the biology department. And Professor Holm and I have been leading a task force with about 9 other colleagues to think about all sorts of things, including the question, Alexander, that you're asking here about the schedule and the calendar, and whether or not the calendar would change from the one that's advertised today. So surely you've seen, I'm sure, other campuses announcing plans which include starting on time to starting 2 weeks early. I think Lafayette decided today to start 2 weeks early. We've also seen institutions start a week later. You've seen some schools end at Thanksgiving and then have students complete the rest of the semester online, which is typically for most schools who are on semester would mean about a few more days of teaching or classes, like maybe 5 days or less, followed by examination. So not a lot of online work at the end. And at this point, Colgate has considered all of those options as part of its planning in terms of how do we both sort of maintain the safety of students, faculty, and staff, and obviously minimizing travel and minimizing coming and going is really important in terms of being able to sort of do baseline testing of the virus and then be able to, in theory, sort of eradicate the virus from the population. The more travel there is, the more opportunity to reintroduce the virus into the population. So we haven't made a decision about the calendar, but that would also be a part of next week's announcement. We have a Board of Trustees meeting later this week. So the Board of Trustees are about 35 folks who are all graduates of Colgate, who work in all kinds of industries around the country, and who are our fiduciary responsible parties, but also really make a lot of decisions on behalf of the university that that sort of emerge from faculty, staff, and students. So we have a great system of shared governance. So as a part of this task force that I've been co-chairing, we have the student body president, who is actually on that task force. It's been great to work with her, but also I think, again, a great sort of example of how important student voice is to us in our shared governance model. And in fact, every one of our committees on campus, our Alumni Affairs Committee, our Student Affairs Board, our Academic Affairs Board, our Athletics Committee, all of those have student representatives. So for first-year students who are coming in, I would definitely encourage you to think about getting involved in one of those shared governance committees and allowing your voice to be heard and considered as a part of university decision-making. So I'm not really punting on that question necessarily. I just feel like it needs to be part of a larger announcement next week in terms of whether or not we are continuing sort of in-person instruction, which we all familiar with that, or whether we continue in a remote format for the fall. So if you'll stay tuned for about another 5 to 7 days, we'll be able to answer Blake's question, Alexander's question, and probably lots of others that didn't appear in tonight's chat.
Okay, so I want to make sure we wrap it up because we said that we would do about 50 minutes to an hour, and we're just about an hour now. I think probably the most important thing that we could share is how do folks follow us on social media? So I don't know if, Sarah, you know the Instagram account for Brown Commons.
Oh, I follow it. I've been featured. I have a feeling it's just Colgate Brown Commons, maybe. Brown Commons? I don't know.
Not know.
Well, I took a screenshot of it from today. I'll pull up my slide, but my hands are a little messy.
Okay.
You could look at, okay, what you could do is you could just look up like Brown Commons and it's right there.
Okay.
I promise you.
Yeah, there's a link from the website now, right? From our new website.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, so you could also connect with all of the social media on the Residential Commons website. So if you actually just Googled Colgate Commons, you will then hit the landing page for all the commons, and then it will introduce you to the history of each of the commons, our Commons Cup Challenge that we talked about a little bit earlier, as well as the 4 different commons that students can be a part of. So Brown, Chicony, Hancock, and Dark Colgrove. And each of them are named after a really wonderful person who's been a part of the Colgate history. So I definitely encourage you to check out the websites, follow each of the commons on social media, and you'll find out what commons you're a part of in August when we start the school year back up again. So if there's anything else anyone else wants to share, feel free to do so, or we will sign off for the evening. So any last comments or thoughts from anyone?
Oh, that's from you.
Mary and Jeff, do you want to close it out for us since you are the faculty Brown Commons and you had us bake with you all this evening?
We should sing the Brown Commons song.
There's
Oh, I know. Okay, we don't have a song yet.
Right.
No, I would just say that that we're looking forward to having you all join us in the fall. Whether hopefully we'll be on campus. If we're not, we will be back on campus at some point in the near future. And you know, one of the things that we enjoy about doing this job as being director of the Faculty Commons is building community with the students. And young people are so important in our lives, and they help keep us young. And we just, as a result, really love our jobs. So you all take care of your families and the people around you. And hopefully you're looking forward to join us.
Yeah. And regardless of which commons you're in, come say hi to us because we'd be happy to meet you no matter where you end up.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your evening, and hopefully you'll join us tomorrow for our housing webinar. Have a great night.
Hi.